Track of the artists and the songs themselves, but that's all right. That's all right because MS.ABA came in the building, and she didn't come alone. She brought someone with her. But we'll get into that really soon. I was doing my news flash actually.
Where we just came right in the middle.
You guys just popped in, but that's all right. That's all right. I'll just do one last flash because I felt okay. This is something we need.
You owe it to the people.
I owe it to them because I announced that I'm going to
talk about the news flash. Yeah.
So I owe it to them, but please do not waver because we do have a great conversation coming up with where do I even start? She was giving me
Carla
her
Kabamba.
titles, her professions, her talents, her skills, all of that, and I stopped typing because I was like, okay, what are we going to do? So please sit tight. Let's do this news flash, just the last one, and then we'll get into the conversation. I was going to tell you guys about this violent act that happened in the UK this week. Last time we mentioned that there was a drunken.
Was it with the child thing?
Yeah, that was last time. Remember, but this time. So there is someone who decided to go out on the streets and stab people in the UK.
Oh dear.
So
what's going on in UK?
I don't know. Just exactly that's the same feeling. So 3 stabbed and several injured in Warwickshire attack. A man 33 held after what police described as nasty incident in town of Bedworth on Saturday morning. 3 people have been stabbed and several others injured by a lone attacker in Warwickshire town of Bedworth. A 33-year-old man has been arrested, while a man in his 20s is in a stable condition in hospital after the attack on Saturday morning, Warwickshire police said. The 2 other victims, a second man and a woman, have now been discharged from hospital. The force said the suspect is from Bedworth, a town around 5 miles north of Coventry. It said he's believed to have walked along Coventry Road and Gilbert Close, where he assaulted at least 10 people just before 8 a.m. So imagine you going on a run just for a morning walk or something like that, and you would have come across this man, and who knows, he would probably would have stabbed you. So it added that the victims who have been identified so far are as suffering minor injuries are assisting officers with their investigations. DS Rich Simpkins described it as a nasty incident and appealed for anyone else injured to come forward. I know this will cause the community great concern, he said. The public can expect to see a heightened police presence in and around Bedworth town centre to provide reassurance while our officers continue to conduct their inquiries. Simpkins said that police had a man in custody and were not looking for any other suspect in connection with the incident. I'm so happy they at least have someone. So we know that a number of people were in that area at around the time of the incident, and that there may be more members of the public who may have been approached or assaulted by the suspect. He said, if you were approached by the suspect or may have witnessed the incident, I would urge you to get in touch. Any information you may have could really assist with our investigation. The suspect's mental health will be assessed, the force added. Anyone with information or with dashcam or phone footage of the Coventry Road and Gilbert Close area between 7:45 a.m. and 8:05 a.m. is being asked to call 101, quoting incident number 91 of 23rd of April. Details can also be provided anonymously to independent charity Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111.
Oh dear.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a lot.
It is. It is. It is.
A lot of crazy things happening. What's happening in UK? I always figure out, is there some kind of plague of crazy people?
I'm not sure.
Sheesh.
I'm not sure, but what do we do? You can't predict these things, these acts from happening.
From happening. Nah.
Right. All you can do is pretty much pray that you're not at the wrong place, at the wrong place, at the wrong time. I actually do remember some years back in was it in Groningen, that there appeared to be crazy? Someone who was also around. They have this park, and literally for weeks this guy was stalking people, and actually on some occasion also stabbed them, but the police never caught them, so it took a while. It took some weeks. So this is something, it's very scary. Imagine living around that area.
It's crazy.
So I think it's already a good sign that they have caught someone and have someone in custody. I hope he is the person who has been committing these heinous
before anything
crimes.
Other crazy happens,
Yeah.
You don't.
But you never know with these things. No. Well, on that note, so I mean, for me, that sums up my news flash.
Well, that's a way to end it, Johnny.
I'm sorry. I'm not the good news kind of person. I'm like, hey, we have good news and bad news. Which one do you want first? And I'll just give you the bad news and I'll leave.
Right. But the question of the week, though, right?
The question of the week. You know what? I haven't even mentioned it the entire show.
Jeez.
The question of which is a good one, right? So name something that is typical in the African upbringing. So something there's only African parents will say this. Only African parents will do this, because you're grown up and you look at your friends, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in the States, wherever you are, you can tell. Only in African homes do you get this type of treatment. I'm dying to know what it is that you come up with. I already have a couple in the back of my mind.
I'm really curious.
Oh,
I have a feeling, you know what, we're gonna laugh. I'm already getting some answers on Instagram.
Oh, really?
Because,
please.
I have a habit of sometimes going live on Instagram. Respect for older people is one that someone is giving. Standard, yes.
Standard.
Yes, definitely. Any African can identify. It's taboo not to give respect. Even if you're right? It's like, listen, you didn't come with respect.
Nope. So yeah, I mean, definitely respect is the major thing, but it's the way they demand respect that makes it typically African.
Man, sometimes it's painful, especially when you are presenting something where you're right and these older people are wrong.
Listen, you have to redo the whole presentation.
Or else it just won't land.
Yeah, but you didn't come here by yourself.
I didn't. So So let me start with the introduction, the whole story behind it. This is a dynamic, most outspoken lady who is not too long ago was all up, right, left, and under busy life, probably because she's also a mom. She is a politician, and with the municipality, those kind of was it the Verkiezingen? Mm-hmm. She was really doing busy, and I know her from way back, church and all of those things. And it's such a small world of Africans here, because one way or the other, you get to meet each other at some place in life. And, on Instagram, we had been following each other and stuff like that. And she slided in our DM. And I was like, hey, we should definitely have her on the show. And she said, you know what? I could be here on the 24th. I was like, okay, girl, let's do this. And we kind of made it happen. And if I say that right, she goes by the name of Carla Kabamba.
Yes.
Do I say that correct?
Yes. Even though growing up, Augustina here heard Carla and Gloria a lot, because Gloria is my baptism name.
Okay.
So when I was baptized, I had another extra name, and that was Gloria. So, but only the people who grew up.
Oh, okay. Because I'm looking sideways, like, wait,
heard me respond to that. Everyone after now, I'm throwing it into the world, and people might use this, but
it's solely Carla, right?
Yes. Yeah, so you're completely right. It's been a crazy roller coaster. And when you're doing the elections, your number one thing is making it, because you're spending a lot of time, money, and also time away from your loved ones. So you want some,
Exactly, some
results.
good returns.
Yeah, and you also want to show that you really want to do this for the people.
Right.
So, but the response after that is something I didn't expect. But I'm gonna leave the questions to you guys.
Right.
Yeah, we're gonna find out all about what you do. I mean,
Yeah.
politician, mom, optimist, all of that list is set on your Instagram account. So we're gonna go. How are you really doing on this Sunday? Like, how's your Sunday been treating you? Where were you here before? All of that.
Well, today I was really at home. And for the first time in a long time, I was really at home the entire day until I had one thing to do, and that's come here. I canceled a lot of stuff. I've been outside of the house way too long, almost every day. So I was like, okay, this Sunday is completely mine, and with the family, and I'll go to the radio station, and then I come into this building. I see different politicians going to a party in this building. So I was like, okay, this work never stops. The minute I step out of the house, it's happening. So
Right.
yeah,
Right. So it was good to be home.
it was really good to be home. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good stuff. It's
Yeah.
good that you can get to enjoy that. I think that especially the last 2 years have taught me to kind of enjoy the moments that you're in, especially home.
Especially home.
Yeah. Speaking of that, what have you, like, what is for you a takeaway from the pandemic?
Those who looked for you are the people who are allowed to stay, and the people you sought out and they
Ooh.
responded to you. Those are the ones who can be in your inner circle. The pandemic showed which people were around because you're having a good time, you're having drinks, you're having a party, you're traveling somewhere,
Right.
And before the pandemic, most of us had lives outside. You go to work, everything was outside, and that also sometimes clouded our judgment to figure out who is there for you and cares about you and loves you, and those who are there for convenience. And it's always more people who are there for convenience than not. That's just life.
That's an interesting perspective, man. That even has me to look back and be like,
Who was there?
I think I need to filter some of these people out of my, my group. Like, get away.
Well, chances are that the pandemic already did that, because there's a bunch of people that you just didn't see.
True.
And now that everything is opened up, there's still a bunch of people that you do not see.
Very true.
Some people I know left the country because they could work from a distance. So they went to hot countries and warm countries, and just stayed there and came back after a year and stuff like that. But the minute everything opened up, they start calling, hey, I'd like to see you. I was in Curacao for 18 months. I'd like to see how you're doing.
Right.
And those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm really talking about the people who disappeared,
Okay.
because there's no parties anymore. There's no free food anymore. So they're like, who is this? I don't have time.
That's hilarious. You're like, fake. Next.
Yeah. And it also, I mean, the scary thing about the pandemic is it made me realize how finite time is for the elders. The parents, the grandparents, because in my head, the parents were 40 for the past, I don't know, 20 years.
Yeah.
Not literally, but emotionally, they're young. You don't think about, when you hear elderly or seniors, you don't think about your parents until you realize, when they give you the numbers, like this age and up, and you're like, wow, that's my dad.
So 55 and up, right? And you're like, yeesh.
That's my mom, that's my dad, that's all my aunties and uncles. Even the young uncle is in there.
No, you're right. Yeah, even my young uncle, like, he's pretty much almost there. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it's quite confronting, though.
Very confronting.
Oh, man.
So I went on a campaign with my dad about health. The campaign was calling and just being, almost patronizing with the rest of the family. Like, you guys are elderly now. No, I'm young. No, you're elderly now. You need to watch your health. And go get checkups every year and stuff like that. So without the pandemic, we as the children wouldn't have been meddling like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
It did bring a sense of new reality to our what we thought was reality. I think, like, definitely. So tell us, who is Carla? Because we know you, but tell for those who might not know. And I know you're dealing a lot with. Oh, you do speak a lot of English in your work as well.
Yeah.
We will talk about why that is. But I would assume Holland, Dutch, and now all of a sudden you get to be presented on an English platform.
Yeah.
Who is Carla?
Well, I'm trying to filter what to say about as an answer. Yeah, I'm a mom, political scientist. I have a background in finance. I've worked a lot in banks, from anything with mortgages to trading, like a stockbroker, stuff like that. Became a financial advisor at some point, and throughout the entire thing, my politics was completely on the other side. Was radical left, but I needed, on one hand, I needed the chance to be able to dip out of the workspace, and the pandemic really gave that. On the other hand, I've always had this thing about injustice, and it comes from my own youth. I grew up in The Hague. And the Hague is very different from Amsterdam. Maybe Agustina has already spoken about that on the radio. It's very different from Amsterdam when it comes to the population, but also there's a very deep segregation in The Hague. And once you get to your teenage years and you start working on your future and you start thinking about going to university and stuff like that, you really start to see it or notice it. And there's a lot of injustice there, a lot of people dealing with all kinds of discrimination. So plus The Hague has the E&A there. Yeah. And back in the day, people who would come to as asylum seekers here, they would pass through The Hague at some point. So the community of people, of Africans seeking asylum, they would also pass through the churches there. So that way you also saw a lot of injustice. You know, people they're trying to separate them from their spouse or them from their children. So I wanted to do something with that. So I went into actively went into politics 2018. Didn't get into city council. This was my second time trying, and I got in.
This was your second time trying?
This was my second time trying.
And the first time was in 2018?
2018, yeah.
Right. So why Amsterdam? Is it because you moved down here, or?
Yeah. I moved down here to study, but also to escape The Hague.
Okay. Yeah. Is that a good thing?
What you running away from? Huh?
It turned out to be a good thing. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. I did not feel like I could grow in the Black humanity that I wanted for myself and people around me. Okay. In The Hague. And I thought, okay, if it's not gonna be I had this short list of Miami, Atlanta, London, Paris. There was these universities there, and you know, I was really young. You're talking 17, 18 years old, so you don't know everything about money. So I was only thinking about, I want to go there. But it was, you know, had I gone, my bills would have been out of this world, you know,
right?
Because the tuition was insane. So I applied to different places, and I got into one of them. I think it was the Atlanta one, and what they asked for one semester was almost the entire study here in the Netherlands. So I was like, okay, I'm not gonna do this to my parents. I'll go to Amsterdam.
In terms of fee and in terms of,
it was just the fee, boarding, food, books, all had to be added to it. So I was like, no. And there was no scholarship because I was not the best athlete. I did not think of scholarships like that.
Here is not really like a scholarship.
No, not at all. It's so cheap here. Well, yeah, it's still
relatively cheap. Yes,
absolutely. Yeah. So I was like, I'm gonna travel another time in free time. I don't have to live there. And I wanted to go to Amsterdam anyway, so that's what it became. That's where I went to study.
Strategic choice.
Yeah,
man.
Mm-hmm.
So were you born here in the Hague?
No, I came here as a tiny fat baby who liked to eat, and I was 7 months old, I believe. Came to live in The Hague right away, and I grew up there until I was 17. I left for Zoetermeer with my mom and her new husband, and from there to Amsterdam.
Oh, man. So you've seen the Netherlands really much. You had a taste of different environments and everything, which is quite good. I like the angle that you gave about The Hague. How did you discover? Okay, so looking at those differences, right? The Hague versus Amsterdam. Were you pleased with the difference that you met here in Amsterdam? How was Amsterdam for you? And could you take us through, that journey? How Amsterdam then was?
Well, I'll start with what I liked about when I came here. Number one was the independence. I was an hour away from mom, so social control, the African church gossip, I saw your daughter wearing.
Well, you didn't go to church anymore. You stopped going to church. You were like, okay, I'm done.
I did go to some churches here in Amsterdam. I did, but unlike in The Hague, I wasn't in the forefront. I wasn't applying for choirs or anything like that.
No pressure there.
I just went because of, I think, pressure from home, but also the feeling that I needed some spiritual home until I felt like I didn't need that anymore. But that, the independence, and that doesn't mean that I went buck wild, but it just means that it was so refreshing to just be alive, because as your body is very controlled. The African young girl's body is very monitored and controlled in the same community. So that was very nice. So I was like, I'm not coming back. And what I also loved was a very, very present African community that was already present in different levels. So there were African lawyers, there were the African this, African that. In Southeast, you had the businesses and stuff. And I'd been before, but I never lived in Amsterdam. And when you live here, that's when you do groceries at the shops. You have conversations. So I really loved that. And what I didn't like was that I noticed that Amsterdam was much bigger city with bigger problems. So where I wasn't scared when I walked home and it was dark in The Hague or anything. I noticed that, I have some concerns, because there's, like you said, the stabbing that you were just talking about, stuff like that was happening not too far from where I lived, or, it happened a day before in my street. So it was a different level of crime that I had to get used to. Yeah.
Eesh.
But was it still worth it?
It was. I learned that, first of all, that it helped to take safe routes, like take the cab instead of the night bus, or if you take the night bus, be with a friend and only walk in the light, stuff like that. So, and it prepared me for the world, because this country is relatively safe compared to a lot of countries in the world.
Yeah.
And if you learn how to keep yourself safe here, then you're better equipped for places that are not so safe. So, but as you notice, I like to turn negative things around into positive.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good attitude.
An optimist.
Yes.
Yeah.
And political science, what's that?
It is
political scientist, because that's really what's behind your name.
I truly believe that only political scientists can summarize what it is. Everyone outside is like, especially the Dutch word politicologie.
Oh.
It's why?
Yeah, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a study of power.
Yeah.
So it makes it interesting because it's a study of power structures in history, in organizations, and that's the starting point. And then you can specialize. You can be like, I want to focus on international security, or I want to focus on European politics, or I want to focus on Dutch politics, or just political organizations in general. But it's all about power. So you read and write and discuss a lot, not power that should be a certain way, but how it is. And then once you understand what it is, you now know where you can influence. And understanding the influence and how you can contribute to that or be that influence, I think that makes you a politician. That makes you a politician when you actively try to be that influence.
But most of the time, like politicians, there is a stigma around politicians that it's all a play. most of them don't know what they're talking about. Most of them don't know what they're doing. They're just there, pretty much. How would you respond to that? I mean, seemingly you are quite new in this area compared to the others.
I'm new when it comes to being paid for it. I'm not new when it comes to knowledge about it. I've been politically active in by way of debates, by way of going to city council and writing to city council and stuff like that, petitions, since I was a teenager. So you're right. There's always a couple of people, sometimes shockingly amount of people, who are just there, and they keep everything safe, and then they just get promoted, and then they keep everything safe down there, and then they sit in the second chamber to the camera, and you never hear about them, and you never see them. They don't make waves. You have them, and you have that at jobs as well. I think everyone has worked in offices where you're working really hard, and then there's that one person that's been there for 15 years, and nothing is special about them. If you ask a question, they almost never know what's going on. Nothing, but they're always there.
They clock in at 9 and clock out at 5.
Yeah, they're there for the job, but mostly there to do as little work as possible. So in politics, it's the same. But as I said before, we were online. Everything is videotaped, everything is recorded. So you notice after a while, hey, that person sitting over there never has anything to say, never has anything to comment on, and that's, I think, where that reputation comes from in the Netherlands. But if you look at internationally, this world has seen so many dictators, so many rogue and corrupt politicians that takes all of the shine. Bad news travels fast. So I always say, whether you like politicians or not, whether you like politics or not, every time you buy anything, you're paying for it, because you're paying taxes.
Right.
So it's always best to at least voice what you want done with your money, than keep quiet and then complain about something that's happening with your money anyway.
That's a good perspective, actually. That kind of makes me think why I didn't vote.
No pressure.
I was just about to say something about that, because after the municipality voting that was in March, there was, and we even announced on the show as well, we had the lowest participation in years. I think around 42% or 44%.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we discussed that.
I believe 848 here in Amsterdam, which is really low.
That is really low, and it looks like it was already on a decline, but it's going down, keep going down. So there were scientists who were looking at the numbers and were saying or mentioning, what in 8 years time, in 16, 20 years time, what if only 30% go to the boosted vote?
Yeah.
So basically the government or the communities are being ran by votes from just 30%. That is not representative
at all.
So, and that is also because the other 70% are probably going to complain.
Yes.
About, hey, we didn't vote, but well, you didn't vote at all. As a politician, how do you see this? What do you do with it?
There's more than one ways of looking at it as a politician. If you just look as a politician and you go to the side of the people who always will vote, which is the richest people and the highest educated people and the least melanated people, then you're fine. As a politician, you're always going to be fine because you're always on the side that will always vote. But if you look at it as a politician who cares about the groups that have the least, deal with the most crap, and have the hardest time voting, finding their way to the voting booth, then it's a big problem because we're talking about a lot of money here. I mean, this municipality we're in has a budget of around 6.5 billion a year. So if 70% doesn't show up and you are standing up for groups in that 70%, then the other politicians who made the choice I talked about before, will say, well, they didn't show up, so why should we spend extra money on X, Y, and Z? So it's very troublesome because, especially when it comes to people of color, of certain tax brackets, they benefit the most from government money compared to their rich counterparts who always vote and don't need government money. So it's not beneficial the way this decline is going. And me personally, I feel like it's a responsibility I've inherited now, because now I'm in city council, to get that realization going that, you know, you're already making use of what we politicians are working for. We're about to talk about budget again, and I'm gonna have to stand up for exactly you. I'm gonna have to stand up for programs that benefit you, but also ways of working that fit you better than top down, what's decided by people who've never known you, who don't know where you live, what you need, or might know but they don't care. So next time, which is next year, we have other elections that's from the provinces. Show up and show out, like, give your vote to someone of color if you're a person of color at the very least. If you don't want to look at color, at least look at women, vote for a woman, vote for someone who has a similar story, but go out and vote, or give your vote to someone who's going to go to the booth. So in the data, you show up, because everything is counted in this country. And if you don't show up, if you're not counted, you don't count. And then we have to, being Black, you have to shout a little louder, because people will use against you, hey, in the data we see a lack of Black people. And then you show up and you have to say, well, we're showing up in these ways. So in short, it's problematic, but I see a responsibility for myself to do something about it.
Well, that's good. I think every political scientist or politician should take upon that responsibility as well.
Yeah.
They won't, but that's a good point.
yeah. Well, so that actually touches on diversity and inclusion.
Yeah.
And that is also something you are big on. It's
passionate for, man. I've seen some debates on your Instagram. It's like, but this, you know, I could tell that, you know, you brought the heat, you brought the smoke, what the Americans always say.
Well, yes. So the thing is this, and I keep telling some of my colleagues who were in those videos that you saw, that we work together now. And I'm like, my thing is humanity first, which means that everything that has to do with having a hierarchy in how you look at people based on, you know, like skin tone, but also how tall you are, how skinny or fat, or how rich or poor. That should not matter more than humanity itself. So a lot of our language in politics is on some kind of spectrum of hierarchy. And that is problematic in itself, you know? So when we talk about diversity and inclusion, which is already hijacked, by the way, the combination of diversity and inclusion is hijacked to talk about things that I'm like, you know, you have a whole room of white people talking about how diversity and inclusion is important and they're working hard on it. And they're having that conversation in the room without the people they're supposedly helping. So situations like that is what I would love to help to break. And I think I help to break that together with my colleagues of color in city council. There's only 3 Black people out of the 45. It's me and 2 other African women. So that's one. And then you have a couple of other people of color. And we all are trying to, you know, find our way and gearing up for September, because then everything is really going to start, to tackle the color issues and to be an example. Because a lot of the stuff that we do here, especially if you're a politician of color, is an example for other municipalities, because Amsterdam is very diverse and inclusive and all of that. There are issues, but there's other municipalities where the issues are far greater. There's a lot of racism and discrimination, sometimes with violence. So you also have to bring the heat, you have to bring the sauce, and bring the attention. So in other municipalities, some politicians start thinking, hey, maybe we need to copy that, or people getting power to fight for themselves in other municipalities and force the politicians there to change. So yeah, I find it important, and as a Black woman, me showing up there already with my natural hair, with these faux locks, or with these nails, or with these colors, you know, it's already
it messes them up. They're like, wait a minute,
I'm
you know,
figured, you know,
and then having a good serious conversation with them, intelligent conversation. It
is triggering. I've several people.
It's a mind fuss.
Yeah. So some of them have really come to me like, oh, I've been to Africa, I've been to Namibia and stuff like. Like they're really trying to, you know. They're really
trying to seek to make beautiful connections, and you're like, bruh.
Connections, because you know they're like, oh, you're so bold in how you look, you know. And one of the other politicians, also full figure, she was like, I started to wear more colors because of you. I was like, I noticed. You know, you showed up like this the first time, and then the next time red. This,
yeah,
that,
they should. Aside from the traditional gray and whatever black, you know.
Yeah. So, but I'm Congolese and Angolan. We are about the colors for real. Yes. If you know Congolese and Angolan people, you know that the lasap, we call it, the style, the dandiness of it all. You know, you have to show up, and people have to look at you and be like, what kind of creativity is this? So it's not that I think a long time before I wear something, I have to just feel it, but my taste is that. Yeah.
Comes through.
So it comes through, so that all of that is disruptive in a positive way. And it you know, like the nails, I've had a lot of conversations about the nails. Like, wow, you know, weren't you scared to do this over here?
What, like scared to put on these nails?
Yeah.
Okay, like go into politics with nails. Is that what the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you answer at that moment?
Yeah, I have to bring myself. Why? You know, people eventually they vote. Yes, they vote for ideas. Yeah. But eventually, like 2 weeks before elections, people start thinking about who is this person I'm gonna vote for. And if you pretend to be someone else, no matter how good of an actor or actress you are, because you're not paid to act. Right. It's gonna show through that you're fake. Right. You know, if you're someone who loves colors and you're always wearing black and white, it's gonna show that you're not really shining to your potential. Yeah. And it feels inauthentic. Same with people who wear colors because they want to, you know, and they're not comfortable. And you can tell in pictures, you can tell in videos how that person is uncomfortable. Why would I vote for someone who can't even choose the right outfit, you know? So it was important for me to stay close to who I am, but work really hard on the message and how to deliver, and to make sure that, you know, you stay to the truth. Don't make up stuff, right? You know.
So and you were the first Congolese woman.
Yes.
And the first Angolan, because you.
Yes.
But also the second Congolese person in the as a city councillor.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But there are also three of you just mentioned.
3 Africans.
Three Africans. Yes. All women.
All women.
Wow.
There are no black men in city council.
No?
No.
Don't say either.
No, he's in second chamber. He's in Tweede Kamer, yeah.
Right.
He was in the previous,
okay. Man, okay. So how does that make you feel? Being, let's say, only 3 women in the municipality. Is that representative of the African community, like in the whole of in Amsterdam?
Well, apparently more. They don't count race in the Netherlands when it comes to voting. They count neighborhoods. And neighborhoods have data about who lives there. So that's how you can deduce if Africans voted for you, Afro-Caribbeans voted for you. And more women, just Afro-Dutch women, voted than Afro-Dutch men. So that is kind of a representation but still I expected at least one black man to make it somehow. So I said it, like, I don't know until we know, when it was officially said by the mayor. And that moment when the mayor said my name, at that moment I was really like a Congolese auntie. You know, there was a little scream, there was a little tear, it was a little dramatic, and then I kept my composure. But, you know, I listened till the end and I was like, there's no black man, you know? So that's something that has to do maybe with another progress or another change that's happening. Black women in this country are improving in education and in their income a lot, and they're excelling. Actually, women in this country are excelling more than men. Boys are lagging behind girls. And with black people, it's the same thing right now in this country. Black women are more and more in the universities and excelling, like going from bachelor's to master's to PhD programs, and their brothers not as much. So with the voting, I think the same thing happened. And plus, after the pandemic, you know, I mean, 48%, you know, the entire country had a lot of people deciding to just stay at home. And we have a neighborhood here in Amsterdam that only had 18% of turnout, so voter turnout. So, yeah, I think it has to do with that. And I would love that to change. Absolutely. Because I want to see the brothers in there as well, you know?
Yeah. So what is one of those things you guys are going to start on? Like, it's on the agenda for sure for Amsterdam. So
we've already started that. That is the city ID for people, undocumented people, an ID card, an ID system, where even though you're undocumented, you still have access to healthcare, education, stuff like that, and you're able to get funds to buy things or help yourself out. That is a big process. There's not more that I can say about it because of negotiations, but that is already going. I've also supported the question to get an extra market day among other places in Southeast. Several places have market days on one day or 2 days, or so every place get an extra market day, because food has become so expensive, and markets often have, especially in Southeast and West and North, markets are less expensive when it comes to food. You can get more potatoes, more vegetables, more fruit for the same amount of money. So in this time of inflation and all these other financial issues, like what is happening with gas prices, an extra market day. So that is an example that we've already done. And I'm thinking there's another one. There is a case that has to do with possible misinformation, or even let me just keep it at misinformation and not honest way of trying to get people to buy real estate that's going on. So they're calling small entrepreneurs and they're promising them the world for a small amount of money. And the legislator got a letter from about that from me and others as well. And other than that, there's on the agenda poverty, healthcare, education, more access to IT possibilities and energy transition possibilities in this city for marginalized groups, people of color, because there's a lot of ask in IT. Right. They're working with people from India. They're getting people flown in from other places because they cannot find people to work for them.
Local, I know that. Yeah.
And meanwhile, you have all these unemployed young people here who quit school or for whatever reason, and they are able-bodied and they should be able to have access to whatever possibilities the city has to offer, because we're booming when it comes to that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we also get a lot more expensive.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing.
Life
living
is getting more expensive. Yeah.
Living
in
just
Amsterdam,
housing.
Compared to The Hague, I mean, that's probably double, right?
Yes,
Here.
I mean, no, The Hague has had seen an explosion too now.
Right.
It is not like Amsterdam where people live on one floor and they pay more than 2,000 euros and they have 2 bedrooms.
Right.
And a balcony, not even a garden, 2,000 euros a month. That is not normal in another city in this country. But there are possibilities, and me and my colleagues, we all want to do something about that, especially finding things that are empty and expensive.
Yeah.
And getting us to buy it back and then rent it for lower prices. I'm saying it. They're not going to be happy, but I'm saying it because that's a fast way to get people into, affordable housing. Just buy it back or rent it back. Yeah.
There was like this, like a real estate corporation going on here in Amsterdam, Zuidoost, where they indeed had a plan to buy like buildings and actually rebuild them.
Yeah.
And use that for public housing. I've forgotten the name, but they've been on it for like I think 4 years now, and they had a 5-year plan, and then they'll see how many subscribers they have within the group to make known that okay, they can do it or they cannot. I've forgotten the name, but I thought that was a really good initiative coming from the neighborhood. Themselves.
Yes, but in these things we have to still be very, very critical. I saw one of these plans last week. Let me think what I can and cannot say. Okay, I saw one of these plans last week, and it was presented as affordable housing, but then when you look into it, a very small percentage is affordable and the rest is in the middle, which is actually expensive. So then you could expect to pay like 1,100 a month. That is not cheap, affordable housing. That's not the housing that a 21-year-old.
Sure, no, no,
so,
absolutely not.
So we need more programs that are focused on the cheaper housing, cheaper than about 750 euros a month. Okay. So you can get like huurtoeslag and you're eligible for things like that. And this city, on one hand, we have a lot of opportunities. Yeah. On the other hand, we have such a high influx of people with a lot of money that it's going to be a challenge.
Right.
That's what I can say about that. But you will see me stand up, vote, and speak on this.
Oh, man. We're looking really forward to it. In the meantime, before we go on to the rest of the show, we're here talking to Carla Kabamba, who is, among so many other things, she's a political scientist. She is an advocate of so many things. And we have her here on the show because we pretty much have to have her here on. She's Black, she's African, she's doing so many things for the community and for Amsterdammers and for Black people as a whole here in the Netherlands. And a shout out to Hits FM Amsterdam, who is commenting on Facebook. And he's saying, whoa, seriously, this woman is deep. He loves the deepness of what you're talking about. Obapa Dufie is saying, these are the kind of women we need in our society, smart and intelligent. She's making me learn a lot. Shout out to you, Obapa. And also Nijata, who says, what interesting topic. You are on point. And also saying, thanks a lot for bringing her. She's really opened my eyes and mind. These are really important topics. And GH Kings is saying, I swear, miss, we need this woman back on the show. All right. Some good loving on there. So many things that you're doing. What can we look forward to this coming year? What is Carla on to? And I see, by the way, I see some of your debates in English. Why is that? Why isn't that? Because the Dutch are really like, doe maar lekker Nederlands.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's because a lot of our supporters are undocumented people and organizations that help undocumented people, and because they haven't been in the Netherlands that long,
right,
they don't speak Dutch. And when we talk about them, we have this thing where you don't talk about without talking with. So right. If they don't speak Dutch and you're having this entire debate about them without speaking English, then you're doing it without them.
Right.
So me and my colleagues make it a point to try to translate things that we post about them or about their issues.
Yeah.
And the organization of that specific debate was addressed, and you know, they advocated for them. Can we do this part in English? And everyone involved had a decent level of English, so we did that part of the debate in English. Yeah.
That's
and we want to see that more if we're gonna talk. Yeah.
Also about to like that's actually quite brilliant to have that, especially in the city
because in the past they never thought about that. I mean, even if they had to communicate with the Ghanaian community, they would have to find a middle guy or middle person, you know, to speak in English or anything. So for you guys to directly be like, you know what, we are talking about you. So since we're talking about you, let's just, you know, do the English. I kind of like that.
Yeah. I mean, we also voted on something that had to do with municipal information being available in more languages than just Dutch and English, because Dutch and English you can easily find. You can click on something and the website is English, but beyond that it kind of stops. You sometimes you can ask, but you know, it's, you just need a translator, or you need a nice little cousin who's already going to school here and helps you out if you don't speak English. So that's something you will see me work on too. I believe that with the amount of French-speaking Africans here, you should have a French option as well. You should have an Arabic option. Like, you have enough people like us who grew up here, but we are multilingual. So you have enough people like us who could use that as like a job on the side during their study to translate things. I'm pretty sure you could find them if you would try. Yeah. So it is my aim to work with my colleagues of, for instance, the party DENK. They also find this very, very important. Yeah. To have some type of pilot where we try to translate everything, or where someone is doing a PhD or something and they can connect it to it. Like, we still have to do the research, but just a step further. And Amsterdam is more open to that. If you would try this in The Hague, you would have a hard time. You would probably be left out of the room, because that's the environment there is a lot different. Yeah. So that's one thing, language, but also language level, because outside of speaking different languages, you also have the levels. Me, for instance, I had this pamphlet for myself during the elections, and I had it translated in Tree. And then someone told me back, it's better that someone speaks it in Tree, because not everyone reads at that level in Tree. You know?
That's good advice.
You know, so it was just one line eventually in Tree, and the rest was in English, or someone spoke it out into a voice note and got sent around with my picture.
That's
smart. So level of Dutch is the same thing. Like, the level that politicians often speak is not the level that the average Dutch person, even the white ones, speak. So it goes one ear, it goes in one ear, it goes out the other, and they're like, oh, all the politicians lie. They didn't hear anything, you know? So you need to make a choice. Are you writing as municipality? Are you writing for most people? Then we need to adjust. Our language is way too difficult. Or are you just writing to write? To be like, hey, I've written, if you don't understand, and that's your problem. And the aim is to write for the people. So that's also something that's going to be an uphill battle, because there's people on the other side who are lawyers, things like that. They just want to write on the level they're comfortable with. So,
yeah,
that's a lot. I know.
there is so much happening. And I mean, you do a lot of things. Are you still doing something with your finance background?
Only the understanding of the financial documents. I had a session where we were looking at all the finances. That's why I know top of mind 6.5 billion. And I was looking at everything. I was like, okay, why is this like this? Why is that like that? And I had two colleagues left from me, and they looked at me and they said, as soon as we have a break, you have to explain what we just looked at. Because I'm please, you know,
he's a finance guy, so he knows.
So yeah,
the type of questions.
Yeah, just you're looking at the balance. You're like, oh, why is this like this? Or why is the debt pushed forward, and how long can it be pushed forward? Because at a certain point, it needs to be paid. or it needs to be balanced by an investment somehow, you know. And this is not a business, this is a municipality, so how does that work? You know, I had questions about that, and they were like, why does a balance need to be balanced? And I was like, yeah, we're gonna talk.
Speaking on that money issue, what do you think, you know, just in closing, one of the things, what do you think about the belasting, the Toeslagenaffaire thing that happened?
So it happened to me.
Gosh,
so I'm one of the people. Yeah, I'm one of the people. I did not lose a house or lose my kid or lose my relationship, but I did lose peace of mind at that time, and I believe that is the part that is not quantified. It's all about the money and giving people money to ease guilty minds and keep people's jobs, but we're not talking about the losing of peace of mind. You're talking about parents of young people, of very young children, often babies, because that's when you ask for it the first time, that were not able to enjoy being a parent of that small child to the fullest because they were dealing with proving their innocence. Me, I've been just in short, because I haven't really publicly talked about this, I've just mentioned, I went back to university for a master's, didn't finish because I had to work, because otherwise I would lose daycare, because they believed that I didn't work and didn't make money.
Wow.
And didn't study.
Wow.
And it kept on being a loop. I was sending things, they had a backlog, and they would say, what you send is too old. We still don't believe you. You have to send it again. So it's too old. So it was a cycle of 3 months.
Man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it became 9 months. And I thought it was over. And then like a year later, they said, we need everything back because we don't have proof that you went to university back then.
Oh my goodness. Okay, yeah. Okay. Yeah,
so you need to, the thing is, I was able to come out of it, you know, it made me stronger, and I didn't lose anything that I really value.
Yeah.
Just the peace of mind and the feeling like you're criminalized. But a lot of people did. And the face of this problem is mostly people who are challenged financially, alone in parenting, and of color somehow. Of color or financially, at least one of those two, or a combination.
Yeah.
So we're talking here about people who are hit the most during this pandemic.
And on top of that, and we still don't believe that this has been addressed enough. There hasn't been a real apology, because the people responsible are able to eat some good money from government. Oh,
still.
But you can't hold anyone as responsible specifically, can you?
You can.
Minister from
you
finance,
absolutely can. There's so much proof that they knew. There's so much proof. But, you know, I have made a reputation for myself for saying things that may get me in trouble. So, yeah. We already know who was responsible. We already know who should be absolutely fired and annexed from anything that has to do with helping people that need money from the government. Because we're talking, and this is where the IT and AI thing comes back. That environment of people who could have sounded the alarm and said, hey, we're profiling people based on last names, based on this, based on that. Yeah. And we need to stop this now, and had the authority to do that, wasn't there. And there were no people of color in there at all. So that is also why I believe that as Black people, we also need to, when we're raising our children, we also need to understand that doctor and lawyer, engineer is fine, but IT engineer should be part of that too. Like, we really need to be in that world.
I side with that.
Yeah. Yes, and another thing, you're also an artist yourself.
Yeah.
Been doing spoken. Do you still do spoken word?
I don't have time right now, but as soon as I do, I will. I think this summer, when we have our summer recess, I will hit the stage a couple of times. But for now, I don't have the time. Yeah. And during this pandemic, there were almost no stages. available.
No.
Yeah.
Does your artistry influence your
Politics
or your job in the?
It definitely does. I think I believe politics is in everything. Like I even on the way here, I was dropped off by my fiance in the car. I was like, you do use Tidal, right? You don't use Spotify. Why? Because Tidal is more honest in how much they pay their artist. Like an artist makes way more money from Tidal than Apple Music or a Spotify. So that is how it still lingers on. And I believe that here in Amsterdam, we need to do something about that, because you have all these artists who have weird contracts where they perform a lot, but they pay a lot to all kinds of organizations, and they're young and they don't know what they're signing. And now we're in a time where Dutch musicians of color are making good money, like before taxes and before paying, they're making good money.
Right.
But what they have to fork over is scary. So yeah, it affects a lot of these things because I have the experience myself. So
Okay, amazing.
Good. So what's next for Carla?
For now, surviving city council and picking back up after the summer, picking business back up and combining the things. And I'm really lucky that I have like a bigger kid, you know. She's 7, she makes her own bread. She understands to a certain point that I get to see the mayor sometimes.
Right.
So I what's next is proving to all the 5,008 people that voted for me that it was worth the try.
Good stuff.
Yeah. And that I'm there for them.
That sounds like is it a lot of work? Do you expect the most? Is all your 100% of your energy going into this? It
is a lot of work because there's, like I said, there's things that I didn't even think about that showed up after the inauguration afternoon.
Right.
You know, and it's a good thing that I wasn't thinking about that in a way. But you know, it can take over your life if you don't have work-life balance. So yes, it is a lot of work already. But I also have to unplug sometimes. But having an African man.
How do you do that?
Well, having an African man and an African child will kind of force you sometimes. Yeah. And, you know, mom's involved and they don't leave me alone. So even if I would think of trying to drive myself into a burnout, they're just going to, you know, let me know, hey,
that's the village. That's the village that's the round.
Yeah. They kind of took their responsibilities during the elections. I think in the beginning it was like, cool. Oh, you're doing a little political thing. And then I explained to them, I don't know why everyone thought I was doing Stadsdeel Zuidoost. You know, I don't live there anymore. But they were like, oh, everyone does that on the side. It's just, and I had to explain several times, if I get through, I'm one of the 45 people running this city, you know. It's actually a pretty big deal. Even my fiance like, wait, like a month before the elections, wait, you're gonna be in the big place? I was, yeah. Oh, why did I think it was like a thing on the side? I don't know, maybe because I downplayed it, but yeah.
Well, it's good that you said that straight. I mean, you said, you know, you put the facts together and we're like, listen, it's the real thing.
It's the real thing.
And now you're here, now you're there and running things and a life and a family and so much. Man, it was so good talking to you about your journey and talking to you about diversity and how you're so much passionate about all of those elements. Man, for people who want to find you and keep up with you, what you're doing, I know people international, because it doesn't really happen so much because of the language barrier that people from outside, because we have a lot of listeners, Canada, UK and everything, get to connect with somebody an African from Amsterdam who also just easily speaks English, you know, just like them. So where can they find you? Where can they keep up with you and follow Carla Kabamba around?
So when it comes to the professional network, you know, LinkedIn, you can find me, Carla Kabamba. And on Instagram, you can find me as well, Carla.Kabamba. I'm on Twitter, but I rarely tweet, which is not good as a politician.
No, that's not good.
About that. But it's like Twitter is a bit of a cesspool. You know, you have fights very easily.
Yeah. True.
With people you don't know and you'll never meet.
Very true.
It's very toxic. It can be very toxic. So that's why I'm not there a lot. It's more that my assistant or one of the members of the team nudges me. Hey, this happened. You spoke on it on Instagram, but you should tweet. And that's when I'm like, okay. And then I tweet something. But it's always with a little bit of reluctance, except for the Africans in Ukraine situation where the Africans were discriminated against in the border. I was actively on Twitter with that. And you will definitely see more of that on my Instagram, because there's more going on when it comes to Africans who fled from Ukraine, who are now in the Netherlands. They are not getting the same treatment as white Ukrainians with a Ukrainian passport. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know. A lot going on that. That's a whole other topic on its own.
Yeah.
But good to know that you are on Twitter, Instagram, and all of those social spaces. We are going to keep in touch and keep an eye on your journey and all of the things that you are doing. Mm-hmm. And for now, we're actually rounding up African Focus. Any last words? Any last encouragement for Black African people out there? What is one thing that they should definitely know from you?
Well, I'm gonna put some job vacancies on my Instagram again. I would love a couple of interns. I would love them to be of African descent. It's up to you guys to apply. And same with people who want to work for us, work for me. It's weird to say work for me, but work for me.
Yes, that's facts.
You know, that's coming probably next month. So I will be posting that on my Instagram as well. But if that's a big challenge, then just connect on Instagram. I have people that help me out with that, so I will answer really quickly. We can talk. If you're scared to speak out on whatever is going on in your neighborhood, for instance, but you really need city council, send it to me or send me a message, and we can email after that. And it's really important to understand, again, you're already paying for politics. You're already, we are already taking your money, because the city council gets money from the Tweede Kamer and your tax money goes to the Tweede Kamer. So it goes to the big government in The Hague, let me put it that way. And they redistribute. So when you buy your bottle of Coca-Cola or your fries or your potatoes, your kapsalon, you're always, or your shoes, you're always paying taxes. Us. So tell us what to do with your money. Tell us what to do. How can we help you better, you know? And not everyone there is there for you. But if a politician is reaching out to you outside of elections regularly, consistently, that is someone who's trying to be there for the community. So yeah.
On that note, thanks so much, Carla, for hanging out with us.
We need an answer from her. What is typically
the typical in an African upbringing? Yeah. What has been yours?
That if you misbehave and your mom is disciplining you whatever way, and you look at your auntie to help you, she'll probably go and yell at you too. Yeah, no one's gonna help you.
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one.
If you're wrong, nobody's helping you.
Nobody. It's allowed to help you, yeah.
It's allowed to help you, yeah. And if your siblings tries to help, they're gonna get it too.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
I have this one, and I actually tend to do it to like others, like my younger nephews, is when an adult look at you and you misbehave, or you just standing there staring at them, and they go and sit down, like I tend to do it now. I look at my cousin, I'm like, go and sit down for no reason. And I think this is so typically African. You just have to stand there and just breathe, and they already like, get out my face.
Right.
Go do something.
Definitely know the feeling.
So I felt that is so typically African.
Yeah. Not handing over a spoon with your left hand, all those type of things. I saw a few on Instagram coming by and, paying respect. Even when you're wrong, you pay respect with yes, sir, or please. In Tree, we have that in the context of saying please before anything comes. Man, but this is something we should really drag next week and see which kind of answers that we would get done from this. Thanks so much for being with us, Carla.
Yes. Thank you so much. And on that note, are we concluding the show, Miss.ABA?
Yes, we are. Man, it's Sunday evening, and I just can't believe how fast the weekend is gone. And I'm so much longing for my bed.
All right, then we'll see you guys next week here at High Radio, the most settlement.
Yes, and don't forget, the episode also comes on all podcasting platforms, so make sure that you keep an eye on the Apple and Spotify and everything so that you can catch up with our talk with Carla.
Keep your devices logged on High Radio, the voice of the nation. Oh, shit,